Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking this incredible journey. Think of it like going from the highest point in orbit all the way down to the deepest parts of the ocean. Why? Well, it's all about understanding the most basic, fundamental things about our world, its oceans and its continents. So yeah, let's dive right in. It's amazing. Over 150 years ago, the writer Jules Verne put it so well. He wrote, "The ocean is everything." And he was so right. I mean, those words, they just perfectly captured the immense scale and the mystery of it all. It really sets the tone for what we're going to explore today. This huge, life-giving system that just dominates our planet. Okay, so I want you to do something for me. Just for a second, imagine you're an astronaut, floating in space, looking back at Earth. As you're gazing down at our home, what's the one color that you see more than any other? The one that just completely takes over the view.
Yep, it's blue. That one simple color is why the first astronauts gave Earth that famous nickname, the Blue Planet. And it tells you the most basic, undeniable fact about our world's surface. It's just covered, absolutely covered in water.
All right, so let's stick with that big picture view for a minute, that astronaut's eye view. We're going to get our bearings on this fundamental split between land and water. So at first glance, it seems pretty simple, right? We've got these huge bodies of water we call oceans and these giant land masses we call continents. But, and this is the cool part, as you're about to see, the way they actually carve up our planet is anything but simple. I mean, look at that. The imbalance is absolutely staggering. 71% water. That's almost 3/4 of our entire world. It's just a powerful reminder that we really live on a water planet that just happens to have a bit of land on it. But wait, it gets even more complex. All this land and water, it's not spread out evenly at all. You end up with what's basically a land hemisphere up north and a water hemisphere down south. And that imbalance, it has these massive, profound effects on, well, everything, from our global climate patterns to the entire course of human history. Okay, so let's zoom in a bit on that massive blue part of the map. We tend to think of it as, 5 separate oceans. But the reality, the truth, is they're way, way more connected than you might think. So conventionally, we break it down into 5 oceans, and here they are, ranked by size. First, you've got the Pacific, which is just enormous. It's actually bigger than all the continents put together. Crazy, right? Then there's the Atlantic, the Indian, the Southern Ocean. That's a newer designation down around Antarctica. And finally, the smallest of the bunch, the Arctic. And this is probably the most important thing to get about the oceans. Those boundaries, the lines we draw on the map, they're totally our invention. They're man-made. In reality, it's all just one huge, interconnected global ocean. The water flows freely between them, supporting this incredible web of life that doesn't know a single border. All right, so we've navigated the big blue. Now let's head for dry land and check out the continents. So how many continents are there? Seems like a pretty easy question, right? Something you'd get in a pop quiz in elementary school. But the answer might actually surprise you. Yeah, it turns out the answer really isn't that simple, because it totally changes depending on who you ask. A geologist might give you one answer, a historian another. The definition of a continent is just as much about culture and history as it is about a chunk of land. So, most of us in places like the US learn the 7-continent model: North America, South America, Europe, Asia, Africa, Australia, and Antarctica. But it has its quirks. I mean, geologically, Europe and Asia are one giant landmass, what geographers call Eurasia. That gets you down to 6. Then, if you combine North and South America into just America, like they do in the Olympic model with the 5 rings, you're down to 5. You can even go further and group Africa with Eurasia, since they were once connected, and that gets you down to just 4. So as you can see, the definitions are pretty flexible. But, in practice, for most day-to-day stuff, and for the rest of our chat today, we're just going to stick with the classic 7-continent model. It's the one most people know. Okay. Now we get to what I think is the most important part of this whole story, because these oceans and continents, they aren't just sitting there on a map. No way. They work together.
They form this incredibly powerful system that makes our planet, well, livable.
Here's the key takeaway, the real aha moment. The oceans and the land, they aren't passive. They are a dynamic engine that literally drives our climate. Think about it. The oceans soak up the sun's heat, they power the water cycle. Without that, there'd be no rain. Earth would just be a barren desert rock.
And get this. This fact is absolutely astonishing. More than half, let that sink in, more than half of all the oxygen you're breathing in right now doesn't come from rainforests. It comes from tiny little plants, phytoplankton, drifting in the ocean.
It's exactly why the United Nations has given the ocean this really powerful title, the lungs of our planet. I mean, what a perfect name. It just perfectly captures how vital the ocean is for the very air we breathe.
And all of this, it brings us to the final and maybe the most critical piece of the puzzle, our own relationship with this incredible planetary system.
I mean, for all of human history, we've basically defined ourselves by the ocean. It gives us the rain we need for our crops, it's a huge source of food for billions, it's the highway for all our global trade, and it's been a source of inspiration for our art, our music, our stories forever. But we've also learned to have a healthy respect for its incredible and sometimes dangerous power. That same life-giving system can also whip up destructive storms like cyclones or unleash massive tsunamis, reminding us that nature is ultimately in charge. But here's the thing. Now the whole dynamic has flipped on its head. Today, the biggest danger isn't from the sea. It's the danger we pose to the sea. We're talking millions of tons of plastic dumped every year, massive overfishing that's wiping out populations, and countless other pollutants that are threatening the health of the entire marine world. So we have to end with this one big question. The oceans sustain us. They are the lifeblood of this planet. The great challenge of our time is figuring out how we're going to sustain them.